name's Diego Perez. Growing up, I grew up in a Christian household. Um, my mom started going to church when I was very young. I was like around 3 or 4 years old. But I never really took it serious. I was more of a guy that really didn't believe in anything, just believed in myself, and that's how I lived life. And when I was 17 years old, that's when I started taking church serious. And I started involving myself in the church a little bit more. Going to the youth group at church, but I still didn't really take it as serious. Eventually I left the church, so I never really experienced the world. So eventually I got attracted by the world, and I had, my friends inviting me outside, parties, and that's how it started, with friends and partying. I left the church because just deep inside, I just didn't feel like I didn't belong, in church. And that's how my life was for like 4 years, just parties, drugs. So I used to party basically every weekend. It started from Friday and wouldn't end till like Sunday night, Sunday night and then Monday back to work. So it was just a routine like that, It was a way to escape, life really, just to party, drink, be with friends, smoke. The worst part was when my brother passed away. So my brother passed away, and then it was like just partying from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It became an everyday thing. So Monday through Monday, the worst thing was marijuana. So I used to smoke a lot of marijuana, 10 times a day, so many times a day, every day, every single day. And I had a good job, so money wasn't really a problem for me. So sometimes I used to spend like $400 a week, $500 a week on weed. And for me, it was like a way to escape the sadness I had, I guess, depression, angry all the time. So it was like a way to escape that. Eventually, I left the city that I used to live in, trying to escape that, but it became worse. I went to a different city, and for me, it became a lot easier to get drugs because I surrounded myself with friends who were drug dealers. And it was very easy for me to get drugs. I was addicted. I was basically addicted, and I lived like that for almost 5 years. I used to see everything that I had, and I had nothing, because most of that money went, for drugs and parties. If it wasn't weed, it was alcohol. If it wasn't alcohol, it was paying for my friends to go to strip clubs or go to clubs, and that's where all my money went. So eventually I had nothing. So my mom, at first, she always thought of me he's a good guy. He would never do that. Until eventually she found out, she figured out that sometimes she'll talk to me and I would just ignore her. And it wasn't because I wanted to ignore her, but because I was high, I was high all the time. And so I was very into that lifestyle. I even told myself that I would never leave that lifestyle. This is me, this is who I was. They would invite me to church. They would invite me to, to change my lifestyle. I even went to the point to say this is how I want to die. I want to die like this, and this is how I'm gonna live my life. My life began to change. I used to go to church once in a while because my sister would invite me, we're having a youth group event. You should come join us. So I'll just go. Sometimes I'll even show up high. It used to come through my mind all the time, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You make so much money, but you have nothing. You don't have a car, a nice car. Your clothes is old. People used to ask me man, you make so much money, but you have nothing. You're still driving that beat up car. The moment when I started to change was when I started to think about that. Man, I have nothing. I spent so much money on friends, and where are my friends? I spent so much money on drugs, but it brought nothing to me, no benefit really. And I remember it was a New Year's. It was going to New Year's, right? It was December. They invited me to a youth group, a youth group gathering. I heard the pastor speaking, and he was speaking to me what are you doing with your life? You're getting older, and you're still the same. You're still stuck in the same situation. So I was man, you're right. I need but what am I doing? So I began to start thinking what are you doing with your life? What am I doing with my life? So I started, seeking more of God. That same month, they were doing the Fast of Daniel as well. And I decided to participate. And that was when my life really, really changed. And we went home after the night vigil. And I just started praying, you know, I started praying at my house by myself in the room, in the closet where I used to smoke. I went into that room, I was like, God, you know, I was here before smoking. I remember I used to sit down, like my closet had a little bench. I used to smoke there. I opened the window because they had like a little window, like a little vent. And I did everything that I used to do when I used to smoke. And I said, but this time I had a Bible. And I was like, God, you know, like, you know my lifestyle, you know who I was. And I want to be different. I want to be a new person. And you know who I want to be. So that's when it happened, you know. I didn't cry at it, but it was just like a certainty, you know. It was just like, man, you know, like, now I know who I want to be. And that's when my life just started to change, like, entirely. You know, I let go of all those things. Like, even when it brought back memories, and like, it just made me smile, like, who I used to be and who I became. You know, in that moment, God was just like speaking to me the whole time, like, you know, showing me who I was and who I want to be. And then he showed me who he wants me to be. And that's when it happened, you know, that's when I was baptized with the Holy Spirit. So Diego now, definitely free from all the parties. Like, I don't need a party. I don't need drugs. I don't need alcohol. I don't need marijuana. Definitely, like, it's not, even the smell, like, even the thought of it, just thinking back in it, like, it just, like, grosses me out. Like, there's more to life than just being stuck in the same, you know, addiction, the same world. You know, that's who I am now. You know, I just let go of all those things. I don't smoke anymore. I don't drink, parties, the friends. Now, most of the friends that called me back, there's some that still call me and still ask for help, you know, and that's who I knew God wanted me to be. So that's who I am now. You know, I'm a person that helps.